my journey was, I mean, I probably told you this anyway, but my journey was very much unguided in the sense of I am going in with no expectations. I'm going in with no agenda. I'm going in with no presuppositions. Like it was really like almost a case of like, you know, having my guide dog or something. It was just like, I have no idea what's out there, but I'm going to see. And I was like, I'm looking for the answers that meet my criteria. And my criteria is very personal. No one told me what my criteria should be, but my it's like, okay, it needs to be safe, kind, and effective. It needs to be natural, and it needs to be universal. So what I meant by that is it does no harm. It has no negative component to it that is ongoingly negatively affects animals, right? It has to actually work, right? Because I'd just been seeing all this pharmaceutical medicine and other modalities and things that weren't. So I was like, it has to work. It needs to be natural because that's what, for me, the animals are going to be engaged, so their body's ready to receive that. Like it's going to work with that. And universal just meant I need it to be across lots of different species rather than it only works on dogs, it only works on giraffes, right? It needed to be something that was at that biological basis rather than at the genetic level or something like that. So in I went and just studied functional medicine, which I didn't even know at the time that it had a name. I was just looking at what's working. So I looked at some herbs, I looked at some oils, I looked at some, like, you name it, diet stuff. I looked at everything that I could find. And, you know, that was years of studying, years of taking courses, years of being trained by world experts. And it was fantastic. And all the way through, I was like, I like this, discard that. I want that fits this, and then at the end of it, I had this huge panel of knowledge and information. If I sort of stepped back and if I was putting it on a wall, I mean, it would literally take up the entire thing. And I was like, okay, how do I distill all of that? How do I bring that down into a framework or a pattern or a summary or some kind of thing that means that it can be, conveyed to someone else, because somebody else doesn't have all those years and all that patience to go through, and maybe not the access to the teachers and all that kind of thing. So I was like, right, what are the common themes? And then I landed on my common themes, which I called my pillars of longevity. And then we met and you were like, oh, you have pillars of longevity? So do I. And I was just like, what? How is that possible? I thought I had just gone and done all this work and come up with this whole thing. So tell me what your story is that you got to the same point effectively, right? Just on the human side.
Yeah. So I'm like stuck on the fact of you being so excited that you came up with this thing and then you met me and I'm like, Penny, you're not unique. Sorry. Yeah. So my journey was pretty similar, but a bit, of course, different. So I was looking for, there's a bug in front of the camera. I was looking for answers for my own health journey, which started as a teenager, being told that, your health issues, there isn't anything you can do. And realizing that there was something I could do in nutrition there was a book that was like, oh my gosh, wait, nutrition? Tell me more. And so that was my sort of entry point. And then I started studying exercise and movement and then psychology. And it just built and built and built until, I had, I don't know, 5 different degrees and 5 different certifications and all these like random little random things like movement, nutrition, exercise, sleep, functional medicine, like all these different, which seemed disjointed, but it was this effort to understand how everything's connected and to understand, because I was seeing, okay, I'm getting benefits from exercising, but that's not fully healing me. I'm now getting benefits to changing my nutrition, but that's also not quite just the answer. And so it was pulling these pieces in. And then I discovered, again, same thing. I didn't know it was called functional medicine. I also didn't know there was a thing called lifestyle medicine. And so I put together in my mind when I was coming up with the pillars of what I called the lifestyle pillars was, what are the things that you can control? Because when you're being told there's nothing you can do, when you're being told your only option is a pharmaceutical and just live with it and all the things that we're told, that was really disempowering. And so I was trying to categorize them according to what are the buckets of our lifestyle that we can actually, that we have agency over, and that can either foster our health or diminish our health. And that's where I came up with the pillars as well. And so then when we met, it was this light bulb moment of, well, the pillars that I have for me and that I use with my patients as a healthcare practitioner, I could also be using those with my pets. And while that makes sense intuitively, it's not something that's talked about very often, especially not all of those areas. And what I was still see on both the human and the animal side now is we tend to hyper focus on one area, where we tend to have, you know, one person saying, and look, I'm a dietitian, so I'm all about nutrition, but we have a dietitian saying, great, this nutrition thing, like this is all you need. And it's like, well, it's not all you need, right? Because if your stress is crazy and you're not sleeping and you're not moving, that nutrition is only going to go so far. And so what I really love about, you know, looking at now, you know, our 7 pillars that we have for pets and humans together, which are ultimately the same as they were separately, is that we're talking about taking what we call a holistic approach. And I think for many people, when they hear holistic, they're like, ooh, what's that? Like, I don't like, that's a little bit woo-woo. But holistic is just meaning the whole being, the whole lifestyle, right? Holistic comes from the word whole. And so that was my journey into developing the pillars and implementing them.
Yeah, and I love that you say there's each one of them in isolation has its truth. It's real, like it works. Nutrition, when you optimize it, when you upgrade it, nutrition, when you weed out some of the rubbish, it doesn't have to be perfect, but whatever you're doing that's moving towards a better nutrition than a worse nutrition is going to work. But is it going to do everything? No, because there are other facets as well. And so that was what I was seeing with the animals as well. Some of the animals in the zoos had fantastic diets worked out for them properly by zoo dietitians, zoo nutritionists, you know, people who had studied the needs of an ungulate, right? And they could, but then but it wasn't preventing the animals from having welfare issues, for example. So you've got to have the mental health component in there. You've got to have the relational, how does that animal relate to the human, and where's their fear factor, and why is this abnormal behavior creeping in? What's the root cause of that? And it didn't stop them from getting, you know, a hoof infection, for example. It's like, well, okay, so what? So you need to have all of them. And as far as I can ascertain, like, we really have got down to what I call we've got down to irreducible complexity, right? There comes a point where this huge, massive, complex knowledge and information and science and detail and, you know, right, can be distilled down, but there's a point where it can't get any smaller. It's now irreducibly complex. It is at its most simple version, and that's 7 pillars. So think of 10,000 stars in the sky, right? And now we have 7 pillars, and it's all come down into that thing. So it's a very easy way for a new person. I mean, when I teach kids this stuff, they don't struggle with it, right? It's very easily understood. There's nothing in here that is like, I've never heard of that before. Like, everyone's heard of exercise and nutrition and sleep and right. So it's very accessible, and I think that's hugely important thing, because not everyone is going to go off and get medical degrees and study for thousands of years, right? They're going to just need a solution to the problem. And if the solution is too hard to understand, or makes no sense, is not relatable, then you're not going to embrace it, right? So that whole thing of, that's all I need to do, just that thing, just that suggestion, just add this in, just throw one of those things away that I've got, and it'll make a difference. Really? Can it be that easy? It's like, yes, it can. Right? And you can go along that pathway as far as you want, and you can really geek out like we do, or you can just play on the edges. But the fact is, it's the same concept, no matter how advanced you go, right? And it's still going to work. It's just going to work more the more you do it.
Yeah. So, okay. So we should say all the pillars because we said them yesterday. But let's go through them. So again, these are these are the things that we came up individually and then met, and we're like, oh, they're literally basically the same. So nutrition, right, as a foundation. On the human side, I say individualized nutrition because there's some nuance between what each individual needs. And you say species appropriate nutrition, which is exactly the same idea. So there we have it, nutrition. Then we have detoxification. So critical for both.
And that's the same on either side.
Literally the same.
We live in a polluted world. If you do not help get the stuff out, then eventually your body's going to have more of it in there than it can deal with, and you'll be sick. And that's just universal. That, unfortunately, that's modern life.
Yeah, exactly. So then we have movement. So, you know, how we're moving on the day-to-day, but the alignment that comes along with that, the exercise component. So we have the movement piece. And I like that we distinguish kind of, you know, as we teach this and when we dive into this, we talk about these different areas because exercise is different than movement and alignment, but they all fall under the same umbrella into that movement category.
Yeah.
Then we have sleep and hormones. Pretty self-explanatory, but most people try to pretend like they don't need sleep when they do. Sorry, people, you do. And hormones, and obviously humans, hormones are important, but on the animal side, hormones are really relevant because we have spay and neuter at usually a very young age. So that plays a big role for them.
Yeah, and people tend to think of hormones as a very niche thing of like testosterone and estrogen, right?
Yes,
but really, what have we got? We've got all of the neurotransmitter hormones, the stress hormones, the adrenals. You've got the sex hormones. You've got the happiness hormones. You've got insulin. Like it really, there's a big bucket there. And sleep and sleep is even governed by hormones, your circadian rhythms and stuff. So they're all very tightly woven together, and it's a huge chunk that a lot of people do miss.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that about the different hormones because people often go straight to estrogen, testosterone. It's like, yes, but do you know how many hormones you have? Okay, sleep and hormones. What else? Microbiomes.
Yeah.
So they are basically a culmination of bacteria and fungi and all of those amazing little tiny microbes that really make up who we are. And the microbiome, those communities, we often hear about it in the gut, but it's also on the skin, in the mouth, in the spine. I mean, we're really learning more and more about different microbiomes all over our body. And if those are out of balance, it just wreaks havoc on our entire body. You know, as gut health is really my expertise in the area that I focus so much on. And let me tell you, when the gut microbiome is out of balance, you will see it literally everywhere in your body, not just in the gut.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is one of those ones, it's a much newer science in that respect. I mean, we've been moving since, day one, and we understood that's a good thing, but microbiome is relatively young comparatively, and the science is just keeping on coming. Like the more we discover, the more fascinating it is, and the more it's really kind of been the missing piece in historical understanding of health. So it's just integral.
Yeah. And then we have natural environment.
Oh, I've lost the sound. Oh, there you are.
So then we have natural environment. So who knew that being outside and being in nature would be important for us? But it is. So, the earth gives us incredible benefits when we have skin contact with the earth, fresh air. These things are so incredibly powerful and very much overlooked.
And the sun got vilified, when the whole skin cancer thing and cover up and never go in the sun and it's just like, are you insane? Like the sun, it provides so many health benefits on so many levels. It's universal for every animal. There's white light in there. There's colored light in there as well. So there's a whole lot of sort of physics going on that's interplaying with your health at the same time. And then you've got things like soils and muds and clays and things, and the salt from the sea and the ions of the air. Like there's no part of nature that doesn't confer positive health benefits to literally every species. again, one of those invisible kind of, oh, really? That's important? I just thought that was like a bit of a wives' tale or a bit of a cute thing to think about. No, it's real.
And even, I see this a lot, the blue light glasses. Don't get me wrong. I love a good blue light glasses. Like, I love mine. They're super cute. And they're great if you're like working on your laptop late or watching TV late or, you know, at nighttime. But now they have these like lenses that you can, you know, if you have prescription glasses, we can just have blue light glasses. And that has incredible detrimental effects because you are blocking out the rays of the sun that your eyes should be seeing during the day, and you're blocking it out all the time. And that can disrupt your sleep, your energy, your circadian rhythm, your hormones. I mean, I've seen some really shocking consequences from folks wearing that. So it is really that balance of being allowing those aspects of nature to really to what's the word I'm looking for? To interact with nature, to interact with the sun and the sunlight, but also recognizing that, yeah, we also don't want to burn like crazy, right? So take precautions. And if you're seeing artificial lights at night, maybe those blue light glasses make sense.
It's dose. As always, it's dose.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's the other thing as well. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, so I'm not going to go there, but I'm just going to touch on it to let people know. Is you've got the whole quantum biology stuff, which again is pretty new for a lot of people, but quantum biology is absolutely fascinating, and light plays a huge part in that. And there's so much that's going on in our body that is light dependent that we had no idea about, including the fact that mammals, us, can actually also photosynthesize. Now, at a very, very tiny degree compared to plants, but yeah, it's there. So we're just discovering the most crazy things. So anyway, that falls into natural environments as well.
And then is this our last pillar? Did I skip one? I'm always like, when we go in depth, I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we have mental health and community. You know, this aspect is so important. You cannot be a human or a cat or a dog and not have community and relationships. They are so incredibly important. And just overall, this mental enrichment that we need, you know, hobbies and fun and, you know, incorporating all these different aspects and modalities that really support our mental health. For some people, that might be a mindfulness practice. I mean, there are so many different mental health. The beauty of these pillars is they're all connected. Your nutrition affects your mental health. Your hormones, your mental health affects your hormone, right? Like they're all connected. But when we think of them in these buckets, then you can ask yourself, okay, for my nutrition, for my movement, for my sleep, for my mental health, are my current practices around this, are they fostering or diminishing my wellness? Are they promoting longevity, or are they taking away years? Because the reality is that they have compounding effects. So if you're building and, you know, you focus on one pillar or two pillars at a time, the compounding effects that you will get versus if just one or two of these areas is in line is dramatic for not only lifespan, but for health span. So how long you're living, you know, healthy and well and have that vitality, and you're not on, you know, 20 prescription medications with 3 different chronic disease diagnoses, because unfortunately that is the world that we live in.
Yeah. And you know that before I got into regenerative and functional medicine, this pillar was essentially my entire career. Like, it was based on the human-animal relationship, which is anthrozoology, right? And then animal mental health in captivity. So as a cognitive ethologist, that's what I was looking at as the sensory modalities. What's coming in? How's that being processed? How's that behaviorally working out? And where are we getting that right in a captive setting, versus what do they have at their fingertips in the wild? And improving captive welfare. And so that, and one of the things was I was almost exclusively working in that one pillar, and then realized that if I didn't have these bits as well, the health component, then I couldn't get to that full place of giving them the optimized quality of life. And I've spent a lot of time working with animal joy. Like hedonic pathology is just about my favorite topic on the planet, right? Because it is bringing the pleasure of life and the joy into animals. But if they had one of their other pillars missing, or if they had the health component compromised, they couldn't attain that place, no matter how much work I did for them. So you cannot separate this out. And we know with humans too that loneliness is the single biggest factor on your mortality. It is so like unbelievably important that we are connected and feel loved and have a sense of belonging, and that someone is looking out for us if we trip over, or you know, like that's, and the animals need that too. It just looks different. And so we're doing things like mental stimulation and training and desensitization and enrichment and relationship building and stuff with them. And for us, it's the same thing, but we use different words. We use hobbies and parties and fun and invitation and being included and having a clique and a social group and a gang and a, you know, whatever. So yeah, we should all go back to having gangs. That was fun. Do you remember being a kid and having a gang?
Well, I grew up in California. We didn't call our friends gangs. Did they do that in Australia?
Yeah, right? We're in this gang. We're in the bush. Well, I don't know. It was just like that. Maybe, yeah, maybe my very sheltered.
No, I love it. I love it.
Treehouse build a gang and stuff. It's like it's nothing to do with like drive-by shootings or anything.
Yeah, I think we're speaking about some pretty different terms here, but we digress. So yes, we need community, we need support, and these all tie into both the mental and the physical health, because they truly are one. Okay, so if your interest is peaked right now and you're like, ooh, I
want to join our gang.
Yeah, if you want to join our gang, we keep an eye on your email for the next few days. We are extending a very special opportunity to a limited number of folks in our community. If you're on this live and you're listening to this, I hope you're one of them. But really to the people who've been most engaged and supporting each other within this community, because we really, really value that. And so it's going to be an opportunity to dive more into these pillars, to understand, you know, what areas you and your pet are thriving in and which ones you need some more support with. And we're going to help you with that support. So keep an eye out for that information, because that is coming later this week. And if you don't get something this week, it's okay. We will let you know about it next month. So stay tuned. But if you are loving these lives, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We go live twice a week. So we will be back next week on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So we'll see you guys